We're at movie number 18 now, and before hopefully everything goes as epic as it can with Infinity War, Marvel just added a whole new great world to their ever-expanding cinematic universe. Wakanda forever! Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage and Marvel has another winner on their hands with the MCU's 18th movie, Black Panther. The film was directed and co-written by Ryan Coogler, who made his mark with his two previous works, Fruitvale Station and Creed. They both starred Michael B. Jordan, and Coogler brought him with him to portray the movie's villain, Killmonger, who turns out to be one of the best in the franchise. But more about that later. The hero, T'Challa, aka Black Panther, was already introduced in Captain America Civil War, where he was out for revenge after the Winter Soldier apparently murdered his father, the former king of Wakanda. Marvel Studios and Disney in general have shown again and again that one of their strengths lies in their casting choices, and Chadwick Boseman is yet another proof. With just a few words spoken and scenes he was in Civil War, he already demonstrated a great presence, and in Black Panther he can show what a great addition he is to the roster of heroes that is almost entirely made up with wisecracking cool guys. He has shades of that too, but he's also suave like no one else, and I'm happy to say that he can carry a lot of the movie's emotional weight as well, because Black Panther is one of the few MCU entries that really has a lot to say, that offers very distinct themes, and that is as relevant as, for example, Spielberg's The Post just a few weeks ago. Black Panther is a movie about identity and responsibility, and of course about representation. I don't want to say that this or that movie is more important, but what last year's Wonder Woman resembles for a female audience, or more precise young girls growing up, Black Panther does for the black community. The moment when the cast was entering the stage at Comic-Con was huge, and a clear sign the times have luckily changed. A movie of this magnitude, realized by a black director featuring an almost entire black cast, is something that wasn't done on this level before. One can always point out that it took 18 MCU movies until we got here, or that it is also a big business opportunity, but for someone like me who likes to think that we as a society constantly move towards a better, fairer, more open-minded, more tolerant world, this was truly special, and imagining what this movie might mean for a young black kid makes me really happy. It's a movie where the only two recognizable white guys are Bilbo and Gollum, and I almost felt like Martin Freeman, who was entering this new world of Wakanda and the beautiful mesh of different sides and aspects of African and black culture. He was constantly a little bit overwhelmed by what he experienced, and so do I feel coming up with a review for this movie without sounding like a white idiot. When you think about it, Freeman was almost in a reverse comic relief position, because back in the more horrible ages of blockbuster cinema, that one black dude giving the comic relief was a very common trope. Black Panther opens with a bedtime story-like approach where young T'Challa, and at the same time we as the audience learn about the land of Wakanda, which is apparently just a poor third world country somewhere in Africa, but actually the technically most advanced country on our planet due to their almost endless supply of vibranium, that fictitious super metal in the Marvel world that was also used to create Captain America's shield. No one really knows about Wakanda except Ulysses Klaw, played by Andy Serkis. He was introduced in Age of Ultron, and in the proven Marvel formula of let's deal with a side villain first until we get to the real baddie, he can really shine in the movie's beginning. After all his amazing motion capture work, it's always a joy to see Serkis himself appear on screen, and he's having a blast with his character. The first half of Black Panther is really heavy on world building, and I was actually kind of surprised of how low-key it was. I was expecting a stronger focus on action and more kinetic, visual filmmaking. Some of the scenes that make up the first half appeared almost too slow, and I was missing a more articulated threat. T'Challa, who just lost his father in Civil War, is crowned as new king and has to think about the future of his kingdom. This is a great opportunity to bring Wakanda to life, and they succeed in adding just another cool and fascinating layer to the overall world of the MCU. I wish the movie would have gotten more tense and dramatic early on, but to see this amazing cast and the culture their characters live in was enough to keep me very entertained and eager to see where this was going. And later it turns out that pretty much all elements of the first half are coming back in some form. And I always appreciate good plans in my storytelling. With the sheer amount of new superhero films each year, they have to mix it up a little bit and look for ways to keep it interesting. This often means that other genres or subgenres are integrated into the working formula. In the case of Black Panther, you can look for a little bit of James Bond international espionage flavor, with T'Challa's little sister Shuri, played by Letitia Wright, getting as close to the Q character as you possibly can without getting into copyright fights. At its core, it can also be described as an operatic family drama. It is hard for a good man to be king, is what his father once told T'Challa, and what is so great about Michael B. Jordan's villain Killmonger is not just his cool swagger and his bulked up statue, but that we get a villain who's tightly connected to the hero's history and heritage, and whose motivation is not as simple, let's rule the world, but something that's actually understandable and thought-provoking. Black Panther is extremely timely, even though you could have probably said that about the movie no matter when it had been released. Because those topics, race, colonialism, isolation, helping the ones in need, or better watching out just for your own people, all that has determined our culture and society for decades or centuries. But it seems more timely than ever right now, and the movie doesn't shy away from even directly addressing the issue of refugees and how we can and have to deal with it as human beings and countries. I thought it was great how the movie tries to incorporate all those highly important topics into its story and still be a big fun superhero film with a lot of humor and of course action as well. But to be honest, those feelings of seeing this remarkable representation of black culture on the screen in this magnitude, this feeling of empowerment, even for someone who isn't black or belong to any minority, but just as an empathic human being, was better and more satisfying and moving than the film was as an action blockbuster. There are some very stylish set pieces, especially that Bond-like sequence in Korea, but once again I had some of the same old problems I have with many Marvel films or modern blockbuster cinema in general. The action is often not just too light and really heartfelt consequences are few and far between, but for some reason that I can't really understand, it seems that effects nowadays go one step forwards and then two back. It didn't feel as unpolished to me as Thor Ragnarok, but honestly The Lord of the Rings, which was more than 15 years ago, looks often more impressive than recent superhero fights. I thought Wakanda and a mix of sci-fi future tech and traditional African culture was visualized in a great fashion, and I also liked that we saw some beautiful landscapes and even in broad daylight. But whenever the action kicks in, many elements just appear to be so very soft and unfocused. Why does the T-Rex in Jurassic Park from 1993 looks more real than a rhino? An animal that actually exists out there. Ryan Coogler has a great knack for directing his actors and actresses, and I just have to say that Lupita Nyong'o and Danai Gurira were amazing in the film and so much fun to watch. But even though there are some cool fight and chase scenes, I'm not convinced that he's the best guy to come up with new and really special action scenes. It was alright, but nothing that really elevated the film. To this day, the best action came from the Russo brothers in both The Winter Soldier and Civil War, which makes me really excited to see Infinity War. Towards the end, Black Panther also misses some moments that really take you by surprise, because it's kind of formulaic and therefore predictable. But again, thanks to the cast who gave their heart and soul and visual and also musical flair. Composer Ludwig Göransson, who worked with Coogler on both his previous movies, created something truly unheard of in the MCU so far. Overall, it's a very good superhero film that could have been great. In German I'd say, Black Panther bewegt sich zwar in gängigen Marvel-Mustern und teilt auch einige der typischen Schwächen, er hat aber auch einen der faszinierendsten und imposantesten Bösewichte und einfach verdammt viel Herz und Seele. I give Black Panther 8 out of 10. It's more like 8.3, but I don't do that. The revolution will be live. Alright, that's it. Like always, comment below and let me know what you think about Black Panther. You can hit me up on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram simply at TheJimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.